Hi guys, welcome to the channel again. My name is Vernon. I am a professional real estate photographer. And this is the second of two parts. I don't think I can get into a third part. In the last part about shooting real estate photography, I told you guys about prepping the house mostly. What to do inside, how to make the inside look presentable, especially when you're going to, in photographs. Now I want to talk about your equipment. That's next. Alright, this is what I used to shoot with. It is the Nikon D7000 or 7001, I think. Can't remember. 7200, the Nikon D7200. Had to go look at it. And I shoot with a Nikon DX 10-20 lens, wide angle lens. On the front, I have a circular polarizer. I do this inside houses because it stops some of the glare, especially if you're shooting towards windows. So it's best to have that, get that and put it on it. But the other aspect about shooting is you want to have either extra batteries or what I have, which is a battery pack. It carries an extra battery, so I have two batteries in this camera when I want to start shooting. At all times, I never take it off. It's a little bit on the, get a little bit on the wiggly side, sitting on a tripod, but so sometimes it'd be nice if you had something to support the lens with off the tripod. But I never go out and shoot with less than two batteries, and I also take extras because I have run out of battery power at one time. And a lot of times I take two cameras. A little example of this, I was in Galveston, Texas, shooting a beach house, and I didn't get my tripod set up right. In other words, the legs weren't even and all this stuff. It was windy, and that tripod went with the camera on it. I broke the lens that I had on it. And thank God I had another lens so I could go ahead and shoot the house and get out of there. But luckily I didn't mess up the camera. So that's something you want to think about when you go to shoot real estate photography. So always have backups. Backups for the backups if you need them. Next thing, like I said, decent camera. This I can control. Like I said before, the aperture setting. Right now I have it on the aperture priority. This is so when I turn it on, I can set whatever f-stop I want to set. You can possibly see the thing moving around there. And generally when I shoot real estate photography, I don't shoot less than an f9. Most of the time I try to get it up around 11 to 13. And the reason for this is to give me a long depth of field, to where I can shoot and everything is in focus from close to way off there. Can't shoot at f22 because it's just as much as I'd like to, because that just really messes with the shutter speed. This camera, in nearly all of the new cameras, when you set your aperture priority, it will automatically set the shutter speed according to the light it receives through the lens. Alright, one of the next things y'all need to think about. A flash. And you only want it to fill. You don't want it to control the camera. Nikon puts one out that when you set it on the camera, it automatically sets the camera shutter speed at f60 and whatever the or shutter speed at 60th, and the f-stops will go whatever they go to, depending on what your camera sees as far as light inside. So it may set it to a small one, or it may set it to a very wide one. Generally, inside a house, it's going to set it at f4 or 3.5, where you're not going to get any depth of field. So you don't want to use one like that. You want to use one. This is a Godox. I can either use it where it sets the camera, or I can use it where I control the light itself, the flash itself, and it doesn't control the camera whatsoever. It'll bounce, go straight up to a straight up bounce. In shooting real estate photography, you want a bounce flash, but you don't want harsh light. Find yourself a diffuser, or what I call, this is just a soft box that fits over the thing, and it's kind of tight. I haven't used it in a while, but let me set it up and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Here we go. Whoops. It's being stubborn. Stubborn as usual. Okay, there we go. So now I have it on as a bounce flash. It diffuses light. I'm not sure I have any. So I can set the flash, and you see there's not a whole lot of light coming through when I do that. Alright, and I can set it even down where it gets less flash coming through. Just turn it on, and I can set these settings in the back on how to do this. Whoops. So get yourself a good flash, one that you can control, not one that controls the camera. That's a must. Let's talk about tripod. This is a relatively old, I've had it for years, Manfrotto. So the legs don't want to, sit still in this position, so I generally have to tie them at the bottom if I want to put them in a backpack. Okay, it's a short one, it goes out, it'll set up nice and tall, and you kind of want something like this, but you do not want this type of head. Right now I have a film head on it, which is, it's usable, but you just have to make sure your camera is level on every shot. Otherwise, if it's tilted like this, or tilted this way, or you're like this, and you're like this, or this, it's not going to work. Not at all. It's got to be where you can set it level, or at least have a bubble to set it level. On my camera, oops, I can go in, and I have a virtual horizon. So I can turn it. There we go. There's the green soon, right there, close to it. You see the green kicking out every now and then. Well, I can set it on that, and that means my camera is level. And that's what you want. You want this thing to be level. You don't want to be shooting this way or this way. You want this camera setting do level when you shoot. The best thing you can do for that one is buy a separate head. This has two different adjusting points. I can adjust it this way, like this, or I can adjust it like this. Either way, I can shoot this. I can use this when I'm shooting with film too. With the video as well. However, it doesn't have the setup on it, but I do have a leveling button, leveling bubble right here, that if I get that bubble inside that circle, this is leveled. But it's best to have something like this rather than a film head like this has on it. Just making sure I've covered all my notes here. All right, in a wide angle lens, there are several out there. 10 to 20, 10 to 24 is what mine is. Or you can even go 11 to 24, but just make sure when you're shooting real estate photography that that setting is always on 10 millimeter, not 20, not 12, not or 11 at the lowest setting. There are a lot of different lenses out there that you can use. Those that are compatible with your camera are great. Those that aren't, find another one. And they're not cheap either, unfortunately. Cameras have gotten highly expensive now. But remember, softbox or diffuser, bounce it off the ceiling. You don't want to sit it direct on like this, even with the softbox. What happens is, let's say you're shooting toward a window, and you're doing everything you can to keep your tripod, yourself, and everything else out of the picture. Then you shoot this at the window like this, and next thing you've got is a big old glare on that window from your flash. So bounce it at all costs. Bounce it as much as can. Change where this sits. If you have to, some of these flashes do wonderful if they're turned around backwards. You're only using it to fill in the shadows. You don't need to use it when you do real estate photography because you're shooting multiple exposures. On this particular one, there's a little, what's called, it's a, right here, I'll try to get it with my finger and get it out of the way, is something that's called a BK, or BKT. That's how I set my brackets. That's how I set my exposures. Let's see if I can turn this around. All right, at the bottom, I've got it set right now at 5 shots with changing the f-stops to 2 f-stops apiece. This camera will let me shoot 9 different shots, but I can only change the f-stop once to 1 stop apiece, not several. I can shoot anything else, 5 shots or less, and go up to as much as 3 f-stops. There's one other piece of equipment, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what that is. All right, guys, I'm back. This is a receiver for my wireless control to shoot with. When I set my camera up on a tripod, I don't want to be pushing on the shutter button. That creates this. It creates camera shake. It's bad enough when you have camera shake from your lens. So what this does, it's up on your camera like that. This piece on this camera plugs into the side. I turn everything on. Now I can control the camera, and I don't have to touch it. I can control it with this. So let's see if this is going to work, and I'll just give you an idea. All right, that's on. There we go. Okay. Don't know what's going to happen, but we'll find out. Let's see if you can listen to it. All right, what I'm doing is I'm shooting, and it's shooting 5 different exposures for me. I keep my hand on the trigger, and once that last exposure gets done, and yes, there it goes, I can let up, go to the next spot I want to shoot. The same thing. I do not have to, with these, you want a remote control shutter switch. You do not want to be touching this camera in real estate photography. It's not going to work. You're going to get blurry pictures from cameras, what's called camera shake. We get blurred pictures from shutter shake as well when you're doing this. That's why you want to put that camera on a very good tripod that will allow you to have it just steady as it can be. All right, I want to talk a little bit about shooting. Now we go to this part of it. Okay, we've talked about how to prep a house. You know, you go in, make sure all the lights are on, make sure all the windows, shades are up, or the curtains are open. To make sure the toilet seats are down, you make sure it's all nice and tidy and not doesn't have a lot of clutter around it. You make sure that, as I think I said this, the toilet seats are down, and then you're ready to shoot. If the weather is not very good, you might want to shoot the inside and outside, or the outside, front yard, backyard first. You do not want to shoot the front yard, inside, and then the backyard. That was how I used to do it. I used to go out and shoot the front yard, come to do the backyard, the inside of the house, and then I'd go shoot the backyard. In most cases, I would do it that way. But if it looked like it was going to rain or get very windy or really get nasty weather, I would go shoot the front yard, then go shoot the backyard, and then I can go in the house, and I don't care what the weather does after that. It can rain all it wants to. In fact, sometimes cloudy weather is better to shoot in when you're talking about shooting. You want that soft light. When you've got bright sunny days, and your windows are open and your curtains are open, you've got that harsh light coming through. So you have to be very careful about how you shoot in this type of arrangement. So shoot the backyard, house, or front yard, house, then backyard. Or shoot the front yard, go shoot the backyard, then come do the front yard, inside of the house. Now, inside the house is a little bit different. Even with a wide-angle lens, you're going to have a small problem. That problem could be how large the rooms are. If the rooms are really large, sometimes you can do a straight-on shot, and it looks great. But you still want to do angles from the corners. When I say angles, I mean from the corners of the room. Cut to the other corner, then go to that opposite corner, then come back that way and go to that corner. So you kind of have 1, 2, 3, 4 shots, and it'll say a living room, kitchen, and breakfast nook, which a lot of them are tied together. You can shoot that breakfast nook from an angle going as you come out of the living room, and then you can shoot it from an angle coming out of the kitchen, and that pretty much settles everything. But be careful about the harsh light coming through the windows, and be careful about using that flash if you're going to use it. You don't have to with brackets. You don't have to do that. Brackets are now called HDRs, by the way, when you start to do that. Most cameras, I think mine will shoot 2 or 3, I think it's 2 really, and then it blends those 2 together, which sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. But you can set up and be careful about that harsh light coming through. So you're going to have to make sure that you get some really good shots for breakfast nooks, especially if they have lots of windows around them, which many of them do, because that's the selling point of a house. Now, the next thing you're going to shoot is the kitchen. Let's talk about the kitchen because it can be rather difficult. In one aspect, most kitchens are not real big. They've got enough room for maybe 2 people at that. So you have your sink on one side, you turn around and here's your stove over here. Stove and oven, microwave or whatever. So these are a little bit different. So now you're going to have to shoot into it, go to the other side if it goes into a living room or something, or den or something, and that is. And then you're going to shoot back this way. Now you're going to have to turn that camera facing that stove and oven, and you're trying to just focus on that. You're focusing on the stove and the oven section, and then you turn it around, you get to the where the dishwasher is and the sink and you get that shot. But these are tight shots, so you have to be careful, and when it gets through and you see them, you're going to want to look at these afterwards before you go on to the next room. So careful with kitchens. Sometimes what I used to shoot kitchens, if there was a breakfast, it had the chairs, and you had a little I can't think of the word I'm trying to find now, and you could shoot over that. I would shoot over that into the kitchen where I was shooting straight on. At least I'd get one good one on one side. It would not take anything else on the counters, but I'd get that. So now let's go to talk about the foyer, the entryway, a little bit. It's a simple shot. It's you go all the way into the house, turn around, shoot back to the door, then you go back to the door and you shoot the other way. Should there happen to be a den off to the one side or a formal dining area, that can be shot with a couple of shots from the entryway or foyer and from the kitchen area. So you have one this way, and you pretty much get it all. If there is a laundry room, this is a one-shot wonder, and you're going to have to do it from the door, and you're going to have to step back as far as you can, and you still don't want to turn the camera on its side, although that's best, but you just don't want to do that. You want all these photographs to be even. So you would do that. You step it and you try to get it as best you can. Now we're going to the living room, which is next, and this is one you can shoot head on. Generally, the living rooms are big enough that you don't have to get to the corner, so you shoot it this way. And then what I used to do was go down to each corner once I was inside and shoot back across to the kitchen area. Sometimes I would shoot, if there was another room that I was going into, I would shoot from a corner or a side of this one across the other way, but generally didn't have to. You're not really going to shoot hallways. You're not going to shoot closets unless the owners or the agent wants them. Pantries are fun because they tend to be small, and it's harder to get. And in those cases, on a pantry, you have no choice but to take the camera from this, like this, and turn it this way on its side, so you have the long shot. There's no choice on that one. You just have to do it. That's the only way you're going to get any of the pantry rooms. If they want closets, you almost have to do the same thing with a closet if it's huge, even in master closets. Master bedrooms are generally large enough where you might be able to get one head on, but I've always shot bedrooms from the doorway, just sticking this camera barely inside the doorway, something like this, to where the door doesn't shut up, and then I would move it in a position where it's going across at an angle to where I could get at least this wall and this wall. In other words, you could see both walls 90 degrees. And then I would go to the other side and shoot back towards the door. If there was something if the closets were, say, over to one side and I couldn't get them very good, I would go to the other opposite side of the room, and master bedroom, and get three, where I'd have three shots there, and come across to show where the closets were. Maybe even open a closet if it was one of these his and hers type of setups. In the smaller bedrooms or the studies, your best shot is going to be from the doorway. Again, the camera's only as far in as you need it to see this wall and this wall. Generally, if you see both walls, you can get the whole square of the room. If you set it in too far, you're going to do what you see a lot of things done now, which have where it looks like the room is cut off. You maybe get half a room, or you get a third of a room. There's there's nothing you can do about that. Always shoot the smaller rooms from at an angle beginning at the doorways. These are the best shots. You can go across to the other side of the room, other corner, opposite corner, and shoot back, but you're not going to get much. It's going to look like half a room. And unfortunately, when agents and whoever else comes in with their point and shoots, like I said before, the point and shoots, the GoPros, the automatic cameras, and they don't know how to operate them, and they'd have the wrong lenses on, that's all they're going to get anyways, half to quarter of a room, and that, or a quarter to half of the room. And you can't tell, a potential buyer can't tell what's there. It's just not something you want to do. And if the closet, again, you might not getting the closet in and you want to show the closet, you just open the door and show the closet. I never showed the closet. I was able to get enough of the closet door to show that there was a closet there. Studies, offices, in-home offices, this is the same. You cannot get those. They're small. You cannot get those. So you have to do it from the doorway and do it the best you can. Now, that pretty much covers everything, unless you're talking about having or they want to shoot, unless you're talking about going out and shooting the garage. I never shot garages. A couple of times I had to, because the agent wanted to go, this is such a big garage, I want to show how big it is. So, yeah, I would go out and shoot the garage, open the garage door and shoot it coming in. Always shoot it coming in. Now you have nice available light from the sun, and you can open the doors and you can see the whole thing in there. So I would shoot from the doorway or the garage doors, or sometimes even outside the garage doors, and catch the garage if they wanted it. But most of the time I never shot there. That was a special thing if they wanted that. Now, if you want to talk about time to do all of this, once you get comfortable with what you're doing and you get into the routine, generally on a 1,500 or 1,000 square foot house to a 3,000 square foot house, for instance, you can be in and out within 30 minutes. And I say within, because 1,000 square feet, sometimes once I got comfortable, I was in and out of those in 15 to 20 minutes. As long as there was nothing special to be shot. After 3,000 square feet, it might take you 30 to 45 minutes when you go 3,000 to, say, 5,000 or 7,500 square feet. Now, there was a 10,000 square foot home that I shot that basically I started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't get out of there until roughly, it was about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I had a second shooter to help me shoot it, because there was so many rooms. It's such a large thing to do. What I did is he was a friend of mine, knew what I asked, and had shot second shot with me before, had filled in with me shooting houses when I couldn't, And I'd ask him, go shoot this side of the room over here, or this side of the house, and then I would shoot over here, so we'd get finished. Part of the reason I didn't get out till late is this was such a huge house, we had to do night shots, and evening shots, and really night shots around the backyard, especially because they had a pool back there, and the patio with a pool, and lights, and all lit up, and had to make that look really nice and show it off. I was doing, at the time I had to do drone shots, and this just took a lot of time to do this house. So your smaller houses, you're in and out within 30 minutes. Your larger houses, as you get larger, the time goes up. And then those super large ones, the ones that are very expensive, $1 million or more, you want to be very, very careful, because you don't want to have to come back and shoot again. The little houses, pretty much you're not going to mess up, but if you do mess up, that's okay. You're going to be able to come back and shoot again. And when you do that, you've charged them for one, you don't want to charge them a second time. It's a freebie when you come back, and if you have to come back on your problem. One more thing about houses, and this, basically the shooting structure that I'm talking about can be used for homes, mobile homes, RVs, and even cars. You can shoot them all the same way. But let's talk about now shooting those houses, and I had a couple of these, shooting those houses which are absolute wrecks. The owner says, I'm not going to clean it up. I'm out of here. I don't care if the bank takes it. I don't care. They're just angry. At those types, you want to it's going to take you a little bit longer to shoot, because you're trying to clean up and declutter just as much as you can, so you can get at least one good shot of every room. I shot one that was under bankruptcy. The guy pulled up all the carpet. He had all the toys and everything stacked up in the breakfast nook of his kids. And then when I went up, and there was basically cluttered a lot, so I had to spend some time decluttering. I even called the owner, or the real estate agent, and I said, look, this house is not presentable for shooting. And she says, then she told me it was a foreclosure, bankruptcy, and a divorce case as well. And she says, try to do the best you can. At least give me some good shots inside and outside. Well, I had to declutter the backyard a little bit as well. I said, okay. So I went upstairs to shoot this, and it had a little balcony overlooking the living room, and I got a decent shot from that. Then I went into the bedrooms. Oh my goodness. There was really no way I could declutter the bedrooms. There was stuff everywhere. And when I went to look in the closets to see if I could throw some of this stuff into the closets, they were cluttered as well. So I just tried to do the best I could, get a couple of shots, bedrooms, bathrooms, and then get out. I want to talk a little bit, since now I said bathrooms, so I want to talk a little bit about bathrooms and how to shoot them. They're also difficult. Your first shot, again, it's a small room. So how do we shoot small rooms? From the doorway. And generally you have the mirror, sink, and countertop all right there coming to the door. Now you have to be real careful on this edge here that your camera's not there. So you're going to shoot it from the doorway and shoot an angle across where you might just barely miss that corner of the mirror, so it doesn't get your tripod in your camera. And of course you're using the remote switch, so you're out of the picture completely. Then you can come back and go in, straight in, if you choose to, and you can get everything that's inside there, such as where the bathtub is if it's down at the other room, and get that. Then you probably go stand in, I used to have to stand in the bathtub to get one coming back towards the door. So I'd have one, at least 2 good ones or 3 on that one. It just depends on what I could do from the doorway, how much I could catch. Now there were some really large ones that ended up having that went into his and hers different closets, and those were kind of interesting. And then I had some that were so large they had a big type of garden tub outside, and then you go around the wall behind it, and there would be your shower stalls or your shower area. And it would have a big vanity for her and another place for him. Those were fun. Those you just choose whatever angles you think are going to be best for it, and you're going to get the best shots. All right, guys, if you have any questions, you can always go to my website at www.stamphotography.net to see some of my work, or you can email me off that website. I have 2, vernon.g.stam@gmail.com and vernon.g.stam@stamphotography.net. Those are my 2 email addresses. Otherwise, if you like what you get or what you see, please like, share, and hit that subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to reach that quote-unquote 1,000 subscribers that YouTube needs us to hit before we can actually start being monetized on this channel. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day or evening from wherever you are, and we'll see you in the next video. Keep looking for some others. I'm getting ready to put some still photography up in slideshow form, and I think you're going to like some of that stuff as well. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.